One of the big ideas in the discipline of communication is that words have power. I still remember as a young child realizing that the right word to the right person at the right time could mean the difference between getting what I wanted and getting in trouble. And thankfully I've grown up a little bit, but that's really what pushed me into the discipline of communication, wondering what are the right words and what's the right time and how do I know who the right person is so that maybe I could influence change. I could move people toward better behavior, healthier behavior, constructive behavior. I'll admit, as I have dove deeper into this discipline and this study of communication, one of the things that I have learned is that my understanding of language and of the words that we use and of the power that they hold is in constant need of realignment and better understanding. Because I've misunderstood where words get their power from. That's what I want to talk about in this video. Where does meaning come from? Maybe, like me, you've wondered at a dictionary before. Who decided what all of these words meant? Is it the people who wrote the dictionary, or was there somebody somewhere back in time who set out and said, this is what this word means? And it puzzled me and confused me for a long time. I can remember sitting in a library in elementary school next to a dictionary, just wondering and marveling at the complexity of language and how many different words could be used for a similar idea, but each one was unique in some way. Over my time studying communication, I've come upon 3 principles about where meaning comes from that I want to share with you. First of all, meaning is socially constructed. What do I mean by that? Well, there isn't somebody sitting down somewhere writing out all the definitions for words. We're doing that in our conversations. When you have a conversation with somebody and you imply a meaning to a word or you give meaning to a word, you are helping to construct what we socially understand to be the definition, the meaning, or the intent of that word. We are engaged in defining what it means to be manly, what it means to be womanly, what it means to be good, what it means to be right, what it means to be fair. Those definitions are constantly in flux as we look and see and attribute manliness to someone like Arnold Schwarzenegger. And at the same time, we look at maybe a celebrity like Michael Cera, and we might say, maybe not manly. Well, why? What is it that we're seeing that we're saying this is what it means to be a man? So, language and meaning is socially constructed. We are constantly engaged in defining and redefining words. Meaning is culturally influenced, meaning that even within the dominant culture of your time, of your place, there are smaller cultures, what we call co-cultures, that exist within the broader culture. Taylor University would be a co-culture within the dominant culture of the United States. There's language that is shared, identity built around an idea like a university. So within our dominant culture, there are these co-cultures, and each of these co-cultures are having a say in what words mean. You know, what does it mean to be a Taylor student? What does intentional community mean? Well, depending on what culture you belong to, those words might not mean much of anything. But if you go to Taylor University, those words mean something very specific. And lastly, meaning is influencing culture. I want you to think about when you were learning, maybe like 6 or 7 years old, and you were starting to understand a little bit more, and you're starting to pick up a little bit more. And you're asking questions, and you're trying to understand what words mean, and you're speaking to what you understand, and you're getting feedback. That keeps happening. And eventually, we start to have a hand in the meaning of words. There's this thing called discourse, and it's happening at 2 levels. We have capital D discourse. You can think of it way above the clouds. It's the conversation that is shaping, policy and agenda and gossip and rumors and the way that we interact on a large scale. Capital D discourse. But then there's lower D discourse. This is the conversation that I have one-on-one or maybe with a group of people. But it's happening locally, right? It's my discourse. You may not feel that you have much influence, but this principle of discourse says that that person that you talk to about that thing is going to take your ideas and they are slowly going to start to influence the way they think about things. And they might borrow a phrase of yours that they pass on to someone else, and then that person passes on to someone else. And maybe someone makes a YouTube video using that idea, and that gets picked up and run in a newspaper. And then slowly over time, that idea that you had is making its way and influencing capital D discourse. So, meaning is both culturally influenced and influencing culture. At a micro level, we need to understand better what are our words and where does their meaning come from. So let's take a look. In semiotics, there's this principle that says our words are merely symbols and they symbolize something that we're thinking about. Communication at its best is an attempt to verbalize what feels abstract or ethereal in my mind. I have lots of ideas, and my words are my best attempt at communicating that. They just symbolize, though, my thoughts. I can't pump my stream of consciousness into your mind and purely communicate. I have to do my best with my understanding of language and words and their meanings and culture and the context and who you are as a person. But there are real things that my thoughts circle around. Let me give you an example. The word cat symbolizes for me cuteness. I love cats. I have 2 at home, and there's nothing I love more than coming home at the end of the day and sitting down on the couch, watching a game of baseball and having my cat come and sit on my lap. Just to get some pets. That's honestly, I can't think of much better than that. That for me is ideal. But there are real cats, not just what I can picture in my mind, right? This might be my best attempt at capturing that cuteness or that curiosity, that friendliness. These versions of cats to me all say friendly. But maybe you've had an experience that's different. Maybe your experience with cats were less enjoyable, more claws and teeth than fur and cuddles. So your thoughts might look different than mine. But at the end of the day, we're referring to the same physical solid objects, cats. But my understanding of a cat can't possibly get at the variety of all that it means to be a cat. It's only my thought. And the word cat is such a simple symbol for something that could be really complex for you. So let's take a look at an example where we would say that this is being socially constructed. I want to look at the word dad. What does it mean to be a dad? Maybe you have ideas of a father who knows their way around a grill or a car. Maybe your thoughts about your dad have to do with dad jokes or dad naps. These are certainly more positive examples of what it means to be a dad. And we recognize that there are lots of people who might not have this positive image that comes to their mind when they say the word dad. I'm a dad. And when I think about dads and what it means to be a dad, sometimes I feel like I don't quite fit. I'm not quite dad enough, because what it means to be a dad is socially constructed. There are ties of masculinity. There are ties of generational bonds. There are ties of nurturing and of care, of hard work. And I just don't know sometimes if I fit. Which means that our words symbolizing ideas could exclude or include people in the conversation. My last example, I don't know about you and where this will hit you, but this has me thinking. When I say the name Jesus, what do you think about? What comes to your mind? For me, growing up, this is what Jesus looked like. And I'll admit that even today, this might be the thing that is popping into my head when I hear the name Jesus. I can distinctly point out areas in my grandparents' homes where these exact pictures are hanging. An artist recently did a series trying to find a more accurate depiction of the characters from the Bible. Thinking about where were they from? This might be a more accurate depiction of the Christ than these images at the top. If we think about the area of the world that Jesus came from, it's much more likely that he had dark hair and skin than this version of Jesus, a very European version of Jesus, a very white version of Jesus. Now, this is still someone's representation. This is not a self-portrait. But if this makes you uncomfortable, if you're struggling with this idea, I just want to point us back to this idea that our understanding of the meaning of words is influencing us. Our ideas, our culture, our relationships, and we have the opportunity to shape words. It's not just one directional. So, when you think about meaning and where meaning comes from, I want you to remember that your words have power. And the right word at the right time to the right person could mean the difference between yes and no, life and death, health, unhealthiness. It could mean the difference between getting what you want and getting in trouble, like I believed as a child. What that word is, what time that is, who that person is, isn't a script. Because we're constantly changing and evolving, and our understanding of words and language is constantly changing and evolving. It means that you have to stay engaged. Don't disconnect and make up your mind about what a certain word means or who gets to be included when we say something like dad. Because there might be people who are getting left out. Let's not make up our minds too firmly about things that are constantly being influenced by the world around us. We should adapt. We should be flexible. We should seek to understand. But don't forget, your words do have power, and they matter. So use them well.